Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we're going to be actually doing an ecology review. So this should be a review, but again, as usual, some people may have forgotten, so pay attention. And before we go on, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, guys. I would really appreciate that. So let's go on. First of all, we're going to be talking about energy flows through organisms. So in the first few minutes of the video, we'll be going over energy flows and things related to them. So first, let's figure out what a carnivore is. A carnivore is an animal that eats other animals. Example, a lion. Consumer is any organism that must consume other organisms for energy and nutrients. Like a consumer can be, we can be animals, we can be humans, because we also eat people. Like, we don't eat people, but we eat chickens, we eat cows. So we're also consumers. So basically any organism that eats other organisms are consumers, okay? Anything that eats. We have a herbivore, which is an organism that only contains plants. So we have a carnivore, which eats animals for nutrients. A herbivore eats only plants for nutrients. Decomposers. Decomposers are organisms like bacteria and fungi, and they break down the remains of dead organisms so that the soil can get more nutrients. Ecosystem. A system comprising all the biotic and abiotic in an area and all the interactions among them. So we can see an ecosystem and we see all the organisms. We see a shark, we see fish. I think those are fungi or mushrooms. I don't really know. We can see birds, we can see trees. So there's so many organisms in here. So that's an interaction. An ecosystem is where organisms interact, and they also include non-living things, okay? Energy pyramid. An energy pyramid is a diagram that shows the total amount of energy contained within each trophic level. So our first level is our producers, our second level is our primary consumers, third is our secondary consumers, and our fourth is our tertiary consumers. So first, our rabbits have to eat our producers, and when they eat it, some of the energy goes out. When our snakes eat our rabbits, some of the energy goes out again. When our hawk eats our snake, no energy goes out. That's how energy pyramids work. Food chain. So in a food chain, it's a single path that shows the flow of energy from the sun to a producer and through different levels of consumers. So we can see a beautiful sun, and this plant gets its energy from the sun. And this rat gets its energy from this plant. The snake gets its energy from this rat. This hawk gets its energy from the snake. It's a line. It's like a path that shows the energy. That's why we call it food chain. Food web. Food web is sort of like a food chain, but it's more complex, and it's with different pathways to show the flow of energy in an ecosystem. So this is just through different levels of consumers, but food web is through an ecosystem. So we can see like plants, we can see fungi, grass, bacteria, all sorts of animals. So that's an ecosystem. That's the difference between a food web and a food chain. Primary consumers. Primary consumer is an organism that gets its energy by feeding on producers in the food chain. So this is going to be our sun, and it looks like wheat. So we have wheat here, and it gets its energy from the sun. It gets its food from the sun. And then this rat is going to be our primary consumer because it eats the wheat. And this hawk is going to be our secondary consumer. We'll talk about that on the next slide. Secondary consumer. Secondary consumer is an animal that eats primary consumers. Those are the animals that eat plants. So here, let's just say that we have a plant. Okay, that's my plant. And this rat ate this plant. And this rat is going to get eaten by this gigantic owl. So these are secondary consumers because they're consuming an animal that ate plants, okay? Producer. A producer is an organism that transforms energy from the sun and uses carbon dioxide and water to make food. So plants are producers, and actually there's a lot of types of producers, but the most basic one is just that plants get their energy from the sun and they use it to make food. That's why we call them producers, okay? they're producers, and they have to use carbon dioxide and water to make food. Tertiary consumers, an organism that gets its energy by eating secondary consumers. So we can see that this is our producer. Our producer is going to get eaten by this primary consumer, and then it's going to get eaten by the secondary consumer, and then this is going to get eaten by its tertiary consumer. So that's why we have this gigantic red box, because it's a tertiary consumer, because this is our primary, this is secondary, this is our producer, and this is going to be tertiary. We can also see decomposers here, actually. Trophic level. A trophic level is the position an organism occupies on the food web. So we can see primary producers. There are autotrophs, and we can see herbivores and heterophores, and carnivores or omnivores and heterophores, and then carnivores and heterophores. And we have our quaternary consumer, top predator and heterophores, least amount of energy. So we can see the energy flow here. So this producer is going to have the most energy. And then this bird is going to have the least amount of energy, because as they eat, some energy leaves. So yeah. So this is the end of part 1, guys. So there's going to be a total of, I don't know how many parts, but there's going to be parts to this video. If you guys would like, make sure to tell me. If you guys want another part, then I can surely do that. And if you do, then make sure to stay tuned and subscribe to my channel for the next parts, okay? So that is it going to be for today. That is it for today. And I hope you guys learned something new, or at least refreshed your brain. And yeah, that's it for today. Bye-bye, guys. I'll see you again next time. Make sure to subscribe.